two particles x and y are in motion. If the wavelength associated with particle x is 4 into 10 to the power minus 8 meter, find the wavelength associated with y if it has half of x's momentum. Now, when we consider a particle usually has mass and momentum as per classical mechanics. But when we consider quantum mechanics, a particle is said to be having wavelength as well as momentum. That means in quantum mechanics, particles are considered to have dual character. That is, the particle has wave character. That means it possesses a wavelength, and the particle has particle character. That means it has momentum. So in quantum mechanics, in quantum mechanical systems, dual character is considered. That means we have wavelength as well as momentum. So the relationship between wavelength and momentum is called de Broglie's relation, which relates wave character, that is wavelength, with particle character, that is momentum. So lambda equals to h by p, where p is the momentum. So lambda is inversely proportional to p. That means we can write lambda 1 by lambda 2 equals to p2 by p1. So here we have lambda 1 equals to 4 into 10 to the power minus 8 by lambda 2 that we want to find. P2 is given as half of P1 momentum. So P1 by 2 divided by P1. So P1 cancel. We get lambda 2 equals to 8 into 10 to the power minus 8 meter. So this is a simple problem related to de Broglie's relation, which relates wave character and particle character. So now, why is it important? Because electrons are quantum mechanical systems, and quantum mechanical systems are considered to be having wave character and particle character. That means we get waves for electrons. That means while writing orbitals, we use the wave function. Since electrons have wave character, that means we are using wave character of electrons. Let us now come to question number 2. An electron is moving around the nucleus of a He positive ion, helium positive ion, with a speed of 2.188 into 10 to the power 6 meter per second. The potential energy of the electron is. So you are given with the velocity of the electron in an orbit. So you have to find out the potential energy of the electron in the same orbit. Now for doing this, first what we need to do is we need to find the orbit in which the electron is in. Okay. So first what you have to do is we have to find the value of n, which will tell me in which orbit the electron is in. Okay. So for a hydrogen-like particle, like helium positive, lithium 2 positive, beryllium 3 positive, boron 4 positive, etc. So these are hydrogen-like particles. The velocity of the electron in the nth orbit is given by Vn equals to 2.188 into 10 to the power 6 into Z by n meter per second, where Z is the atomic number and n is the orbit in which the electron is present. Okay, so in this case, the velocity of the nth orbit is 2.188 into 10 to the power 6. We get, it is given that it is a He positive ion for which Z equals to into 2 by n. So this and this cancel, we get n equals to 2. So the electron is present in the second orbit of helium positive ion. Then what we have to find is we have to find the potential energy of the electron. So first what we have to do is we have to find the total energy of the electron. So total energy of the electron in nth orbit of a hydrogen-like particle is given by minus 13.6 into Z square by n square electron volt. Okay, so in that case, energy of the electron in the second orbit is minus 13.6 into 2 square by 2 square, since we are calculating for helium positive. Okay, so this will be minus 13.6 electron volt, since 2 square and 2 square got cancelled. Okay, now the relationship between total energy and potential energy is potential energy equals to minus of k z e square by r, while so the potential energy is minus k z e square by r, total energy is minus of k z e square by twice r. That means total energy equals to potential energy by 2. So that means potential energy equals to twice the total energy, equals to 2 into minus 13.6 uh, 27.2 electron volt. So in this way, we can find out the potential energy of an electron in an orbit from the velocity of the electron in the orbit. Calculate the number of radial and angular nodes in 3D orbital. Okay. So before going to the nodes directly, let us have a brief overview of quantum numbers. So let us have a brief overview of quantum numbers. So now, before going to quantum numbers, if I have a system for which, if for a system the energy of the system does not change with time, then I can write h cap psi equals to E psi. So this is called the Schrodinger wave equation. So this is an operator which is called Hamiltonian operator, which is the which gives the energy of the system. Operator is nothing but a mathematical instruction given to a function. Okay, for example, if I am doing d dx of 2x, I get 2. So this d dx is a operator. Okay. So for a system whose energy does not change with time, I can write h cap psi equals to E psi, where psi is called wave function. So for a system whose energy does not change with time, we can write h cap psi equals to E psi, where psi is called wave function, and it contains all the dynamic information about an electron. So psi is called wave function and it contains all the dynamic information about an electron. Now, the Schrodinger equation is basically a differential equation which, on solving, gives the values of psi and E. For example, I get psi 1 E1, psi 2 E2, psi 3 E3, psi 4 E4. So these are the solutions of the Schrodinger wave equation. These are the values of energy that is given on solving the Schrodinger wave equation, and these are the values of the wave functions. Now, all of these wave functions are not acceptable. There are certain criteria that tells us which of these wave functions are acceptable. So first, for example, this wave function is acceptable, this wave function is acceptable, this wave function is acceptable, this wave function is not acceptable. So if these three, psi1, psi3 and psi4, if these three wave functions are acceptable, then they will tell me that electrons can have E1 energy, E3 energy and E4 energy. So if a wave function is not acceptable, then the corresponding energy is also not acceptable. That means the electron can't have an energy of E2. Electron have an energy of, can have an energy of E1, E3 and E4 respectively. So on what basis we will decide whether it is a acceptable function or not? So there are three criteria. First criteria is the wave function should be continuous. Second criteria is it should be finite, and third is it should be single value. So psi must be a continuous function. So similar to the mathematical continuity, this also should be a continuous function. It should be finite. Thus, all the values of psi are finite. Psi cannot have a value of infinity. For example, if I write psi equals to 10x, so if somehow I get psi equals to 10x, I can't say that psi is acceptable because 1090 degree equals to infinity. That means this function is not acceptable if it is a wave function. But so since it has to be finite, that means 10x is not considered. Number 3, it should be single value. Now let's consider a function like this. So at this point there are two values, not two, there are three values of y. So for a particular value of the variable, there are three values of the function. That means it is a multi-valued function. So this psi should not be multi-valued. It should be a single valued function. Only one value of psi for one value of the variable. Now, so when we talk about quantum numbers, there are four of them: M, L, ML and MS. So all these quantum numbers come into play when we solve the Schrodinger wave equation for one electron system. So we take a one electron system like hydrogen, we solve the Schrodinger wave equation for this one electron system, and upon getting the solution, we get four quantum numbers alone. So this first quantum number is called principal quantum number. So this first quantum number is called principal quantum number. It tells me about the orbit in which the electron is present. So orbit or shell, as per the Bohr's theory. So this principal quantum number will tell me the orbit or shell in which the electron is. So this principal quantum number will tell me about the orbit or shell in which the electron is present. For example, if I have n equals to 1, it will be in the K shell. N equals to 2, it will be in the L shell or L orbit. N equals to 3, the electron will be in the M shell. N equals to 4, the electron will be in the N shell. So this tells me about the shell in which the electron is present. Now, usually when we write psi, we write in this form: psi N L M L. So, okay. So where N I already discussed, it tells me the electron is present in that particular shell. Now, when I consider L is called azimuthal quantum number. So L is called azimuthal quantum number, which tells me about the subshell. So M tells me about the shell. L tells me about the subshell. So there can be So S subshell, P subshell, D subshell, and F subshell. So for the S subshell, I have L equals to 0, P subshell I have L equals to 1, D subshells I have L equals to 2, for F subshell I have L equals to 3. Now, from where do I predict these values? A value with a cobra. So the prediction of the values of L can be made from the values of N. So if the principal quantum number is N, then there will be N values of L, and those values will be from 0 to N minus 1. It will keep, for example, if the principal quantum number is 1, then there will be only one value of L. যদি প্ৰিন্সিপাল কোৱান্টাম নম্বৰটো 1 হয় তেতিয়া L ৰ ভ্যালু এটাই থাকিব সেই ভ্যালুটো কোৰ পৰা কৰলে থাকিব 0 to n minus 1. So 0 to n minus 1 means 0 to 0, 0 to 1 minus 1, that means 0 to 0, that means 0. So for principal quantum number equals to 1, there will be only one value of azimuthal quantum number, that is 0. That means if n equals to 1, that means in the K shell there will be, so for when n equals to 0, we have a s orbital, we have a s subshell, that means we have a s subshell in the K shell, that means the value of n is 1, the value of L is 0, I get 1s. Okay. Now suppose we have n equals to 2, that is the L shell. So for n equals to 2, we have two values of L, of small l, which will be from 0 to 2 minus 1, it means 0 comma 1. So that means when n equals to 2, I have L equals to 0 and L equals to 1. So for L equals to 0, I have S subshell, for L equals to 1, I have P subshell. That is why we write 2S, 2P. So in 1S, only one value of azimuthal quantum number, that is 0, that means 1s. For n equals to 2, we have two values of azimuthal quantum number, 0 and 1. For L equals to 1, I have s. For L equals to 0, I have s. For L equals to 1, I have p. That is why for n equals to 2, I have two subshells, the s subshell and the p subshell. So inside the s subshell and the p subshell, there will be orbitals which will be characterized by the magnetic quantum number ml, which will be characterized by the magnetic quantum number ml. Now, so if the principal quantum number is n, it will tell me about the shell. If the azimuthal quantum number is l, it will tell me about the subshell. Or L also tells me about the shape of the orbital. So, for example, if I have 2p, till now we have not told anything about the number of orbitals that are contained in the subshell. We only told that there is a subshell called 2p. Every orbital that will be inside the 2p subshell will have the same shape. So every orbital that is inside the 2p subshell will have the same shape, and the shape of the p orbitals is dumbbell shape. Okay. Now, so let us take n equals to 3. Then we will have L equals to 0, 1, 2. Why? Because number of L is equal to the principal quantum number which runs from 0 to n minus 1. So for L equals to 0, I have the S subshell. For L equals to 1, I have the P subshell. For L equals to 2, I have the D subshell. So for the L shell, I have 3S subshell, 3P subshell, and 3D subshell. Till now, we have not discussed about the orbitals that are contained in the shell. So the orbitals will be told from the magnetic quantum number. So for every value of L, there will be twice L plus 1 values of ML. So for every value of L, there will be twice L plus 1 values of ML that will run from minus L to plus L. For every value of L, there will be twice L plus 1 values of ML that will run from minus L to plus L. Now, for example, if I have n equals to 3, I have L equals to 0, L equals to 1, L equals to 2. When L equals to 0, there will be twice L plus 1 values of ML. If L equals to 0, then there will be twice L plus 1, that is 2 into 0 plus 1 values of ML equals to 1 value of ML that will range from minus L to plus L. So minus 0 to plus 0, that is actually 0. So there will be only one value of ML. That means for 3S, n equals to 0, n equals to 3, L equals to 0, ML is also equal to 0. Okay. That means there is only one orbital. So the numbers of ML tell me about the number of orbitals. So in the 3s subshell, there will be only one orbital, which is the 3s orbital itself. Similarly, when L equals to 1, there will be 2 into 1 plus 1 equals to 3 values of ML, which will range from minus L to plus L. So minus 1, 0, plus 1. So 3 values of ML from minus 1 to plus 1. So that means when L equals to 1, we have P subshell, that is a 3P subshell. For the 3P subshell, I have 3 orbitals with 3 values of magnetic quantum number. So this is called Px orbital, this is called Py orbital, this is called Pz orbital. Now, again, if we take L equals to 2, then there will be 2 into 2 plus 1 equals to 5 values of ML that will range from minus L to plus L. That means minus 2, minus 1, 0, plus 1, plus 2. So when we take L equals to 2 or 3D subshell, there will be 5 magnetic quantum number or 5 values of ML. Each value of ML will correspond to one orbital. Okay. So for n equals to 3, I get 3 subshells and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 orbitals. So to conclude, if the principal quantum number is n, there will be n square orbitals. If the principal quantum number is n, there will be n square orbitals. So if we have n equals to 4, that is the n shell, there will be 4 into 4 equals to 16 or 16 orbitals. Okay, so how 16 orbitals? So 4s, 1 orbital, 4p, 4d, and 4f. So n equals to 4, we have 4 values of L, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So 1 orbital, 3 orbitals, 5 orbitals, and 7 orbitals corresponding to the values of ML, and I get 16 orbitals as a whole. So this is a relation that should be kept in mind. Number of orbitals in a particular shell. Now, If I consider the value of psi, psi is called wave function and it contains all the necessary information related to orbital, all the dynamic information related to orbital. Psi gives the value of energy of the orbital, but psi does not have any physical meaning. Actually, when we take psi square, it gives me the probability of finding an electron in an atom. So psi square is called probability density. Psi square is called probability density. Psi square is the probability of finding an electron per unit volume. That is why we call it probability density. So if I have an atom, what is the if I have an atom, there is an electron inside the atom. What is the total probability of finding an electron inside this atom? So since this electron is inside the atom, the total probability will always be 1. So if I take the atom as a whole, the total probability of finding the electron in the atom will be 1. Now, so psi square gives me the probability of finding an electron in an atom. So from this notion of psi square, we get nodes in an atom. So nodes are regions of space in an atom where probability of finding electron is 0. So nodes are regions of space in an atom where the probability of finding an electron is 0. So that means that these will be spaces inside an atom where we don't have any electron, or we don't have any electron density in an atom. So now, nodes, the number of nodes or the number of empty spaces in an atom depend upon the orbital in which it is present, in which an electron is present. So different orbitals have different numbers of nodes. So for example, nodes, the number of nodes depends on principal quantum number and azimuthal quantum number. The total number of nodes in an atom is given by n minus 1. So for example, if I have a 1s orbital, the total number of nodes will be, so n equals to 1 minus 1 equals to 0. So that means in a 1s orbital there will be no nodes. That means in 1s orbital we won't have any space where the probability of finding electron is 0. There are two types of node. One is called radial node or spherical node. The second type is called angular node or a nodal plane. Now, when we talk about radial node, to find the number of radial nodes, this equation is used. Total number of radial nodes equals to n minus l minus 1. Total number of angular nodes is equal to l. So what is a radial node? Radial node is a spherical region. Radial node is a spherical region around the nucleus. Radial node is spherical region around the nucleus where the probability of finding an electron is 0. So for example, if I consider this 1s orbital, the number of radial nodes is n minus l minus, so n minus l is 0 minus 1 equals to 0. That means no radial nodes. So if I consider the 2s orbital, the number of radial nodes will be n minus l minus n minus l minus 1 equals to 1. So there will be one radial node for 2s orbital. So if this is the nucleus, if this is the nucleus, so there is electron density around the nucleus, and if this is the orbital as a whole, there is no point around the nucleus, or there is a no spherical region around the nucleus. There is no spherical region around the nucleus where the probability of finding electron is zero. That means we are getting zero radial nodes. Okay. So similarly, if I consider the 2s orbital, so near the nucleus, the electron density is high. The electron density around the nucleus is high, or the probability of finding electron around the nucleus is high. After I move a distance of r from the nucleus, I get to a spherical region where the probability of finding electron is zero. There is no electron density at these points. There is spherical region where the electron density is zero. So that is a radial node. After the radial node is crossed, again we get electron density. So in 2s orbital, I get one radial node. So this is a radial node. So why is it called a radial node? Because it depends on r. So when I consider the wave function, xi equals to a function of r into function of theta comma phi. So these are polar coordinates. So these are called polar coordinates, and this r is the distance of the electron from the nucleus. So this f of r, where r is the distance of the electron from the nucleus. So this f of r is called the radial part of the wave function. The radial part of the wave function, which depends upon the distance from the nucleus. Now, if I take psi square, I get f of r whole square into f of theta comma phi whole square. So if I take a point in this radial node, if I take any point in this radial node, psi square is 0. So why is the psi square 0? Is it 0 due to, so if psi square is 0, either this has to be 0 or this has to be 0 or both of these has to be 0. So it is 0. So we call it radial node because in this radial node the radial function is 0. So this is the radial part of the wave function. The radial part of the wave function is 0. That is why we call it a radial node. So now, so it is called a radial node because the radial part of the wave function is 0. So what is radial part of the wave function? F of r. So that function which depends upon the distance r from the nucleus. Now, so if I plot a graph between f square r and r, f square r and r, so I will see that, so this is r equals to 0, that means r is the distance from the nucleus. So if I plot for 1s orbital, the electron density is highest when it is near the nucleus, and it decreases in this way, so that I will never get a point where I can say that the electron density is 0. I am not getting a node. I am not getting a radial node because I am plotting the radial function. The radial function is not becoming 0, and that is why I am not getting a radial node. But instead of 1s orbital, if I plot f square r for 2s orbital, if I plot f square r versus r for 2s orbital, I will get, so this will decrease and it will come to 0, and then it will increase. So the electron density is high near the nucleus. After some distance from the nucleus, after a distance r from the nucleus, I will get a point where the f square r becomes 0. So f square r becomes 0, that means psi square also becomes 0. So psi square becomes 0 means the probability of finding an electron becomes 0, and I get a radial node. So why is it called a radial node? Because this radial function becomes 0. Okay. So this is for s orbital. We can also have radial nodes for p orbitals. So if I have a 3p orbital, the number of radial nodes will be n minus l minus 1. So 3 minus 2 equals to 1. So there will be one radial node. So what sort of radial node we will have? So I have, this is a 3p orbital. Let us consider that this is a 3p orbital. So since s orbitals are spherically symmetric, that is why I am considering the radial node as a spherical zone, but p orbital is not spherical. In this case, we will consider radial nodes along the axis in which the p orbital is present. So this is the nucleus. So initially the electron density will be high near the nucleus. After that I will have a region. So at till this point electron density will be maximum. After this region I will have an empty space where the electron density will be 0. Similarly will be in this side. So the electron density is maximum here. After that I am getting an empty space. After that I am again getting electron density. So instead of considering it to be a spherical zone, I will consider it only along the axis in which the p orbital is present. So let me consider it in the x direction, or y. I can also consider it in the y direction or z direction, anywhere. So everything will be same. Now the principal quantum number n tells me about the shell. The azimuthal quantum number L tells me about the shape of the orbital, and the magnetic quantum number tells me about the orientation of the orbital. So this is about radial node. The number of radial nodes is given by n minus l minus 1. Now, if I consider angular nodes, it is also called nodal plane. So it is nothing but a plane passing through the orbital, and on that plane the probability of finding electron will be 0. For example, if I consider the 1s orbital, the 1s orbital has electron density around the nucleus, so there is, so L equals to 0. That means there are no angular nodes. So that means I can't consider any plane. I cannot consider any plane in this 1s orbital so that I get 0 electron density. So if I consider a plane like this, at no point in this plane I have a 0 electron density. If I consider a plane like this, at no point I have a 0 electron density. If I consider a plane like this, I cannot have even a single point where the electron density is 0. That is why I don't have an angular node in the 1s orbital. Similarly, if I take any s orbital, 2s, 3s, 4s, any s orbital, for all s orbitals L will be 0. That means for all s orbitals I don't have any angular nodes. So similarly, if I take a p orbital, let us consider px orbital. So this is the x-axis. The p orbital will be aligned along the x-axis. There is a px orbital. The px orbital will be aligned along the x-axis. So this is the z-axis and this is the y-axis. So for px orbital L equals to 1, that means there is one angular node y. So if I consider this yz plane, so this is the yz plane. So this is the yz plane and this is the x-axis, and on the x-axis I have px orbitals. So along this plane, the probability of finding electron is 0. That means this is a angular node or a nodal plane. So if I consider any p orbital, 2p, 3p, 4p, all p orbitals have L equals to 1. That means all p orbitals have a single angular node. So if I have px orbital, the angular node or the nodal plane will be the yz plane. If I have py orbital, the nodal plane will be xz plane. If I have pz orbital, the nodal plane will be xy plane. So this is nothing but a plane passing through the orbital in such a way that the probability of finding an electron in that plane is 0. So at this point we don't have any electron. That means if a plane passes through this point, we don't have any electron, we won't have any electron. That is why it is called an angular node. Which of the following is not possible? So you are given with a set of quantum numbers. So you are asked to tell which is not possible. So n equals to 3, l equals to 3, ml equals to 2, ms equals to half. N equals to 3, L equals to 2, ml equals to minus 2, ms equals to minus half. Similarly, third and fourth. So let us see question number 4. Let us see randomly. So if n equals to 1, I can have a single value of L. So that will be 0 to n minus 1. That means L will be 0. It is correct. So if L equals to 0, then ml will be from minus L to plus L. So minus 0 to plus 0, it is 0. And for each value of ml, I can have two values of ms, plus half and minus half. So plus half can be there. That means if I have an orbital, there can be two orientations of an electron in an orbital. One orientation is plus half, one orientation is minus half. At max, in a particular orbital, I can have maximum 2 electrons. One has a spin of ms of plus half, one has a spin of minus half. So plus half means electron is spinning clockwise. Minus half is electron is spinning anti-clockwise. So if I have an orbital, there can be at max 2 electrons. One electron is revolving clockwise, one is revolving anti-clockwise. So let us see option number 3. N equals to 2. If n equals to 2, then there can be two values of L, 0 and 1. So L equals to 1 is possible. If L equals to 1, then ml can have three values, minus 1, 0, plus 1. So minus 1 ml is possible. ms is plus 1, it is also possible. Similarly, if I have n equals to 3, then there will be three values of L. So what are these? 0, 1 and 2. That means L equals to 2. It is possible. So if L equals to 2, then I get the three values of ml, minus 2. If L equals to 2, I can have five values of ml, minus 2, minus 1, 0, 1 and 2. That means minus 2 value is also possible. Similarly, minus half value of ms is also possible. But now if I see option number 1, n equals to 3. So if n equals to 3, then there can be only three values of L, 0, 1, 2. But I can't have L equals to 3. That means this option is not correct. The psi 2s for a hydrogen atom is this one. The wave function for 2s orbital for a hydrogen atom is given, where r is this r is the distance from the nucleus where a radial node is found. So you are given with the value of psi 2s, where r is the distance from the nucleus where a radial node is found. You have to find out the relation between r and a node. So this came multiple times in JEE Advanced. Then it was an IIT JEE also. Multiple times in JEE Advanced. So the relation between r and a naught is, so where a naught is the Bohr radius. So how to find this out? So we need to find the relation between r and a naught, where r is the distance from the nucleus where we get a radial node. No. So when we have a radial node, the probability of finding an electron in that particular region of space or the node is 0. That means at the radial node, psi square will be 0. So if psi square is 0, psi will also be equal to 0. So if psi square is 0, psi will also be 0. That means here we have psi 2s. Psi 2s also be equal to 0. যদি রেডিয়াল নোড হয় তেতিয়া ইলেক্ট্রন পোৱাৰ probability 0 হৈ যাব যদি ইলেক্ট্রন পোৱাৰ probability 0 হৈ যায় psi square 0 হৈ যাব psi square টো যদি 0 হৈ যায় psi 0 হৈ যাব ইয়াত psi টো কি psi is equal to psi 2s for 2s orbital psi 2s will be equal to 0. Now if we carefully see the psi 2s orbital, so 1 by 4 pi 1 by 4 into 2 pi to the power half, so this is a constant, this can never be 0. 1 by a naught to the power 3 by 2, this can't also be 0. E to the power minus r by a, this also can't be 0. A2 0 hobo নোৱাৰে, A2 0 hobo নোৱাৰে, A2 0 hobo নোৱাৰে. That means 1 minus r by 2 a naught. So this can only be 0. All the others can never be 0. Exponential term can't be 0. 1 by a naught is not 0. 1 by 4 into 2 pi to the power 1 by 2 is also not 0. That means you can write 1 minus r by twice a naught is 0. That means I get r by twice a naught equals to 1, or I get r equals to twice